So yesterday we discussed about the some introduction about the HANA. What is HANA and what is the deployment options in HANA database? So how it is very fast. What are the new technologies, new functionalities SAP introduced in the HANA database, right? So these things we discussed yesterday, right? And initial versions, releases, when it was released. So many these things we released yesterday, right? And so now today we will discuss about the hardware and software requirement, means sizing of the HANA database here. It's a very important sizing. Why? Because all the data resides in memory. In memory, all the data is residing. So sizing is one of the important factor here, right? So in that case, sizing, how to calculate the sizing here? Sizing for HANA covers all the hardware components that are critical for the IT performance, that are critical for the performance here, to improve the performance and to avoid the performance issues in the databases. And definitely, so the sizing is very important here, right? So here the sizing means here the CPU, the memory, and CPU, memory, and so storage, disk sizing. So these are all the main important factors here. The CPU sizing here, and also we have the so memory sizing. Why? Because all the data resides into the memory, and storage means disk here, right? So CPU sizing means it's a depends upon the defined by the hardware vendor. Hardware vendor depends upon the hardware vendor. Each CPU will support the certain amount of memory here, right? Then memory sizing for static data and objects that are created during the runtime here. The data which is coming inside of the database, that way we have to calculate for the memory. So static data and the objects created during the runtime. So these things we have to check it out here. These things we have to so check here as part of the memory sizing here, right? And also disk sizing, which means the storage sizing, sufficient memory for backups and archived data. So these three are the main important factors for the sizing perspective here, right? CMD. So disk storage here. Normally storage, normally we will call it as the disk also here, CMD, right? So SAP provides various tools and resources that we can use during the sizing process here to scale the systems. So sizing is very important here, right? HANA database, all the data resides here, application data and everything here, right? So here the sizing, various tools SAP is providing here, right? So here in that case here HANA, so normally HANA database can be deployed as a SAP in memory appliance, in memory, and also the TDI means tailored data center integration approach as well, on premises or on cloud also we can build the HANA systems here. Especially for the memory sizing here, memory, every SAP HANA customer should perform the memory sizing to size an HANA deployment. So sizing is very important. The first factor is the memory sizing here, right? So for the sizing for the greenfield means the fresh installation here. That is called the greenfield implementation. It is necessary to size the memory using the HANA quick sizer tool. There is a HANA. So in this memory sizing, there are the so for the greenfield means fresh installation means new build, fresh installation. There are the multiple words. So that's called the greenfield installation. We can use the quick sizer tool, HANA quick sizer tool here. And also the systems already in the different databases, they are migrating to the HANA databases. SAP recommending to use the reports. They are the reports we have to use in the source database, and and also apply the sizing notes in case of if you don't have the so reports, then that will provide the report here. Greenfield and brownfield means it's a migration approach that we can use the ABAP report or some scripts. You can use it, DB specific scripts to calculate the memory sizing here. To calculate the memory sizing, we can use the this reports are sizing here, right? So the above report means that there is a one report in the above systems slash SDF slash HDB underscore the sizing report that we can use it here, right? Scripts means the DB specific scripts here. This is the SA38. If you execute this report, you will get the so sizing of the HANA database and everything here, sizing of the HANA database and everything here. So for the greenfield fresh, you can use the quick sizer tool. This is the browser based tool SAP delivered to the customer to calculate the sizing. So using the tool, we can calculate the web-based interface. We can calculate the HANA sizing as well here, HANA sizing, right? So that is the main thing here, right? So systems, and also here the based upon the sizing, like based upon the system size, like the complex sizing and the experts. Maybe we can also involve our experts so that they can also perform the this installation here. So for sizing, for the greenfield or new implementation, we can use the HANA Quick Sizer tool. The sizing guide is available, so we can use the HANA Quick Sizer tool here. Otherwise, migration, we can use the so reports, the reports are scripts, we can use it here, right? That is the main thing here. So quick sizer tool means here, if you go to the SAP quick sizer tool here, during the SAP installation time, we discussed SAP quick sizer tool here, that is called the benchmark tool here, so the sizing means it's a calculation of the hardware determinants like CPU, memory, disk. These all are comes under the sizing here. Here, if you see the quick sizer tool here, so HANA based quick sizer tool here, right? If you click on the HANA based quick sizer tool here, then we will come to know how much RAM is required for the HANA database and all the information you will get here, right? It's required the S user ID to log in. Then you can create the project and you can do the so sizing here. So reports directly can execute the report in the SA38 that will give you the information here. That is called the sizing here, right? And also CPU sizing here, CPUs, right? Depends upon the RAM. Once you got the RAM requirement here, then you will get the CPU requirements also here automatically. So any system, it's a very large or complex required sizing from the here. The more thing is for greenfield and brownfield, same using the quick sizer tool, you will get it out here, that information and everything you will get it here. So the sizing recommendation is depends upon the sizing recommendation is depends upon the your so main memory. The main based upon the main memory, you will get the sizing. Based upon the main memory, you will get the sizing here, right? So here, so Anna, hardware requirements including sufficient RAM is very important. Sufficient RAM means RAM memory is very important. At least minimum, if you go for the T-shirt sizing method, normally we can also go for the T-shirt sizing method. T-shirt sizing method here. So which means so small, medium, large, and extra large, right? Small means minimum for SAP, minimum 128 GB RAM memory is required in the real time. Then 256 GB. Then large 512 GB here. Large 512 GB is required. Then extra large 1 terabyte is required minimum. Minimum I'm saying here, right? These all are the minimum requirement here. T-shirt sizing. Directly we can use the T-shirt sizing method. If it's a small company, we can use this one. Medium size company, this one. Large company, we can use this one here. So it depends upon the your data created during the so runtime and also the data flow, the current DB size, we can go with this one here, right? So that is the sufficient RAM should be required here. And also recommendation, always SAP recommended to use the higher RAM memory here. Why? Because all the data resides into the RAM memory. If you have the more RAM, system, more data will be saved into the RAM memory only here, right? The recommendation range from the 256 GB to 1 terabyte or higher here, right? So that is the main thing here, right? So and also disk space is minimum 1 terabyte, minimum 1 terabyte is required for the disk space requirement here, right? That is the so HANA database here, right? So very largest systems significantly it may increase it, but minimum so 128 GB RAM memory is required here, right? So here if we calculate it here, so if you calculate the disk sizing here and CPU sizing here, once you got the memory sizing, you will get the CPU sizing as well here. Suppose if I take the so if I take the normal approach here, like in the on premises, how can we follow here? So if you take the so one CPU, one physical CPU. I mean to say physical CPU will handle the 14 GB, 14 to 16 GB of RAM memory here, 14 to 16 GB of RAM memory here. So in case if you have the 128 GB, 128 by 14 GB, 14, then how many CPUs you will get? Then you require the that many CPUs you required here. Means one CPU 14 GB, then two CPUs 28 GB, then three CPUs. So like that, we need to go for the based upon the RAM size, you will get the number of CPUs as well. So sometimes one CPUs will so this is a physical CPU. When it goes to the cloud-based CPUs here, so cloud-based CPUs here, one normally we will call it as the one virtual CPU. Then that will handle the 7 GB of main memory, 7 GB of RAM memory only. It will handle the 7 GB, which means one physical CPU equals to two virtual CPUs, one physical CPU, two virtual CPUs here. Sometimes in the cloud side also nowadays it got optimized, which means so CPUs will handle the more memory. That is called the memory optimized and also thus the compute optimized. They are the two options in the cloud. You want to go for the memory optimized, then so one CPU will handle the more memory here. Compute optimized means one CPU, so one CPU less memory will be occupied. He will support it here. That's why we have the two options in the cloud side: memory optimized and compute optimized. Compute means CPU optimized here. That depends upon the your cloud provider here. So why? Because HANA deployment options yesterday we discussed, right? HANA can be deployed in the either on premises or cloud, and hybrid scenario also we can deploy the HANA, right? This multiple ways we can deploy the HANA database, right? See, on premises means our own premises. So then that's called the physical data centers. There that is also depends upon the CPUs hardware. It will handle sometimes more, it will handle sometimes less also here. That is depends upon the your hardware providers here, right? In the cloud side also here. But the minimum the RAM requirement is common for every customers here, right? The storage requirement here, the storage requirement, if you talk about the storage requirement here, for HANA databases we require to have the different file systems here, right? Suppose example, so root and usr SAP, then slash ana data, then slash ana log folder, slash ana shared. They should have the separate file system, separate mount point should be required for the HANA. So this is only for HANA. What about the operating system? Linux, right? There should be definitely so slash home and slash home slash var and slash temp, right? Then slash swap, then so temp swap home. Okay, so these are the some operating system level, so operating system level, so OS level specific file systems here, right? So HANA SAP recommending to have the separate file systems for the so this operating systems here, right? Separate for HANA, separate file systems should be mounted separately here, right? And this is the storage here. So then how much space is required for the each and every file systems here, each and every file systems, how much space is required here, right? So here, when it comes to the sizing perspective here, so how much space is required, which means how much space is required for the HANA database means here, the root is like minimum 10 GB is required, minimum. So USR SAP, the 50 GB is required minimum. Slash HANA data 3 into RAM size, 3 into the RAM size is required here. Slash and a log is so half by 2, 1 by 2 of 1 by 2 of RAM memory, or the max 512 GB is fine for the slash and a log. So slash and a shade is 1 into RAM size, 1 into RAM size here. Then remaining is less, 20 GB, 10 GB, 10 GB, 10 GB. That is sufficient, depends upon the your space here. But for especially for the HANA database, these are the minimum space recommendations we should have here. So based on that, how much it will come? Suppose like if you take the 128 GB RAM, so then 50 GB, then so 60 total, 3 into RAM size, then 3 into 128 GB, then half by 2 or 512 GB, we can take it out maximum. Then 1 into RAM size, that is called the 128 GB. Then if you calculate the 10 plus 50, 60, 60 plus, so 3 into 300, 360, 360, right? So then plus 512 GB plus 128 GB, how much will come? Then that much of storage we required, some of the storage we required. So which means depends on the RAM size you got the storage, means disk size requirement, and depends upon the RAM size you got the CPU requirement also here. Then how can we get the RAM size? Based upon the reports or quick sizer tool or t-shirt sizing method also we can use it here. T-shirt sizing method also we can use it here. That's the main thing of the HANA database here, right? So CPU main, so minimum 1 TB, definitely it should be 1 terabyte storage recommended for HANA systems here recommendation. Additional disk space is needed for the log directories, some other data generated during the system operations. That is the main thing here. And CPU side, it's a multi-core architecture, multi-core processor required here, right? That is the main thing of the HANA hardware requirements here. Here, so except not only this one, then what type of operating system we have to use it here? Our type of operating systems we have to use for the HANA database. So HANA can be installed. So only the Linux operating system is like a only Linux platform we have to install it here. Either SUSE Linux or Red Hat Linux, we have to install it. And the hardware platform, what hardware we have to use it? First one is the hardware only, hardware platform. Either so either Intel based, or so then IBM Power Missions, either Intel based hardware, Intel or IBM. So power missions, our the even power missions we have to use it here. IBM power missions we have to use it here. That is the hardware platform. Operating system is Linux, either SUSE Linux or Red Hat Linux. We have to use it here. Either SUSE or Red Hat Linux. Red Hat Linux we have to use it here. Okay, this is the operating system. So but operating systems there is a versions here, right? SUSE Linux means SLES. Why? Because when it comes to the operating systems and the softwares, there are the versions here, right? When it comes to the SUSE Linux version here, so 15, so SPS06, PS06 is the latest versions here in the operating systems. That is the latest version here. When it comes to the Red Hat Linux, which will support like 9 points version here. That is the main version here. So that is this is the SUSE Linux version here, which means when you are installing the HANA database, always use the latest version of the operating systems, latest version of the operating system here. That is the very important here. Otherwise, if you go to the SLES SUSE Linux. Here you will see the latest versions here. SUSE Linux Enterprise Server here. SP06. The latest release is the SP06 here. So you see the latest versions. So SP06 is the latest version SAP released here. So before that we have the 05 SPS 05 and SPS 04 and SPS 03 and SPS 02 and SPS 01. This is the then before that SLES 12 also SAP released here. In the 12 SPS 04, I think this is the latest. But SAP HANA database we cannot install on the 12. Always we have to use the latest version of the HANA database. Sorry, operating system here. This is the latest. Either you can use the 05 or 06. Last two you can use it here. Right? Why? Because you are installing the latest version of the HANA version, definitely the latest version of the operating systems and the libraries also required here. And also when it comes to the libraries here, the RPMs. So the GCC libraries we have to use it here. GCC VC runtime libraries and the operating system on top of this libraries should be installed and a separate file system should be mounted, enough free space, and so all the file systems and CPUs then all are there. Then we can start the installation of the HANA database here. We can start the installation of the HANA database here. Right? That is the very important here. Right? So this is the hardware sizing here. Means to get the hardware, and so these are all the CPU and memory and storage. These three are very important here. Then operating system, fine, OS team, and so these are all the things you will not be involved. You will not be arrange this one here, right? But if you know this information, that is well enough. Why? Because sometimes the Linux people, means the OS team or infra team, they are not sure how much space memory you required for the HANA database here, right? So that's time. So if you know this information, you will be able to inform to them. They can able to arrange these things for you. And once the OS is ready, once the operating system is ready here, then what they can do here, they can install, they can hand over the system to us. Then we can download the softwares and we can do the HANA installations. When it comes to the HANA, the software requirement here, HANA software requirement here, right? So what are the softwares we required? Hardware requirements, we got it as part of the sizing. When it comes to the software requirement here, HANA SAP released into the 3 editions, right? Platform edition, enterprise edition, extended enterprise edition here. Means base, enterprise, and extended enterprise editions here, right? So then here, any version, we have the versions of the HANA database here. So software requirement side, HANA 2.0. So SPS 08 is the latest version of the HANA database here, right? Then before that, HANA database softwares are required, and also we required means to install the HANA database, SAP HANA DB is required, SAP HANA client is required here. Then optionally SAP HANA, SAP add-ons, and the plugins are required. These are the optional here, optional clients, optional. So here coming to the HANA versions here, SPS 08 is the latest version here. So then before that we have the HANA 2.0, SPS 07 is the SPS 07. Then HANA 2.0, SPS 06. So sometimes they may ask you what is the latest versions and everything here. That time it's a very important factor here. HANA 2.0, SPS 05. So then 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, HANA 2.0, SPS 00. So from here to 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, 06, 07, 08 is the latest version here. From up to 07, SAP release strategy is once a year, SAP will release the new SP version. But starting from the SPS 08, which was released in the last year ending. So then here the maintenance term is every 2 years once they will release it. Means the next year, not this year, next year. So we may get the SPS 09. Until then, they will release the revisions, maintenance revisions. They will release to the customer here. Right? No SPs, only revisions. They will release it here. This is the latest version here. Right? And this is the HANA DB versions here. So client is communication between the application and SAP application and databases here. Add-ons and plugins are the additional functionalities in the SAP system. Additional functionalities in the SAP system. There are some add-ons and plugins are required here. Right? That is the main. So operating system is like where on top of the hardware we will install the operating system. On top of the hardware we will install our HANA databases and applications and everything softwares we will install it here. Right? These are the software recommendations here. The latest version, this is the latest version here. And also we have in the history, if we talk about the version history in the HANA database here. So before the HANA 2.0, HANA 1.0 also SAP released it here. SPS 12 is the latest version. Then HANA 1.0, SPS 11, and HANA 1.0, SPS 10. So SP 10. So then HANA 1.0, then SPS 00. So that is the version here we have. So HANA 1.0 up to 12 they have released it. So then after that they have changed their architecture and they have released the HANA 2.0 editions here. So then what is the difference between the 1.0 and the 2.0 means? One is like a single container here. HANA is like a single container. 2.0 is the multi-container here, right? I see you know the difference between the Robo 1.0 movie and Robo 2.0 the movie, right? There are some small differences here, right? Same as like here, HANA 1.0, HANA 2.0, there are some differences are there here. Some differences are there here, right? So what are those differences here, right? HANA 1.0 is like a single container, single means, so when you install the HANA database here, you will only get the one HANA database only. One HANA database only you will get it out here, right? So if you install the HANA database, we will get only one HANA database, right? Then why? So we require the multiple databases, right? So that is the one thing here. Single database only you will get it out. Means single database. If you install the one more, then one more database you have to download and you have to install it here. That is the main thing here, right? HANA single data, HANA 1.0 is the one means single, right? Single DB con, single database, single container. Normally we will call it as the database language container, which will store the data, single container, right? And HANA 1.0 metadata, every database there is a metadata, and metadata is included actually in the database itself. This is included, and the persistency layer format also not separated here. The persistency persistency layer means storage layer, operating the storage layer here, persistency layer issues, right? When it comes to the HANA 2.0, when it comes to the HANA 2, so it's a multi-container. It's a multi-container here. Multi-container means multiple databases we can install on the multiple tenants we can create on top of the existing system DB. It kind of a apartment concept here. Then so metadata separated, so and the persistency layer also separated, the persistent data separated, and the persistency layer also separated here, right? In this HANA 2.0 here, the main thing is here, one of the major difference here, right? So single and multi-container here. Single container means the best example, so our independent house, right? Independent house here, right? So in the HANA database, when you have the independent house, right? So independent house means only one family, one stay. So in the suppose the example in the 200 hats or 150 hats, square hats. So if you build the one, what if you build the so if you build the one HANA system here only in this one house, only one family can stay here, right? That is called the independent house. Only this family can use the hardware resources, CPU, memory, storage, network, everything, and this operating system resource, everything will be using by the so this single container box. Suppose example in the same 150 200 square ads, if I build the apartment here, apartment means so minimum so G ground floor, then +1 +2 +3 plus, that is the apartment, depends upon the permissions, area permissions. You can install, you can add the multiple floors here the same operating systems, same hardware resources, but multiple databases you are adding here. That is called the multi-container here. That is called the multi-container here. Here, SAP introduced the system DB concept, system DB, and these all are the tenants. In the ground floor, only owners will stay, and the first floor, only tenants will stay. So tenant DB, then one more tenant DB here, then one more tenant DB, one more tenant, like that multiple tenants we can create it up to 19 tenants we can create it, 19 databases we can add to the one HANA SID here. One HANA SID, you can add the 19 tenant databases, you can create it here. 19 tenant DBs we can create it here, right? That is the main thing here. One system DB, tenant DB, and the remaining tenants means 18 tenants. We can total 20 tenants we can add it here. By default, you will get the G+1. Normally, the apartment means the builder first will build the G+1. Then after that, you will go for the +2, +3, +4, +5, right? That is the main. But here also, when you install the HANA 2.0, by default, you will get the G+1. One system DB, one tenant DB, you will get it out here. Then on top of, you can add the more tenant databases, you can add it here. On top of that, you can add the more tenant databases, you can add it up to 19, we can add it. Total 20 tenant databases we can create it here. Total 20 tenant databases we can create it. So including the by default one, 2, 3, 4 like this here. So except default 19, including the default, you will get the 20 tenant databases we can create it here. Means 20 applications we can add, we can on top of that one, 20 applications can connect to the one single tenant database here, right? Here, what is the system DB, tenant DB? System DB will manage the all the tenants here, right? System DB means normally owner will manage the all the tenants, right? Same as like here also, system DB will manage the all the tenants. If you want to stop the tenant, if you want to delete the tenant via so system DB only, you have to operate it here, same as like here. So here the advantage is all the databases are using this common resources, common hardware, common CPU, common operating system here. So you don't need multiple operating systems, licenses, support, everything here. So single one is enough here. That is the main thing of the so HANA 1.0, the 2.0 differences here, right? There is no so system DB, tenant DB concept in the 1.0. There is a standalone database will be installed here. Then here you will get the system DB, tenant DB will be installed. It's kind of a multi-container. Multi means one system DB, one tenant DB by default will be created. Then remaining tenants will be created upon the our request. So if you have the request, then we can add one more tenant like this. You can add it here. That is called the tenant databases here. That is the main thing here, right? 19 tenants up to create in the one single host. Here, multiple families. Here one family, here one family, here one family, here one family. Up to 20 families can stay on independent host. Only one family can stay here. Multiple families can stay here. Multiple families can stay here. That is called the tenant databases here, right? That is the main thing here, right? Multi-container, which means HANA 2.0 is the multi-container. There is a system DB, tenant DB concept here. One system DB, multiple tenant databases here. So applications will be connected to the only tenants, not the system DB. Then what is the use of the system DB? Means system DB will manage the all the tenants, stopping, starting, that kind of things will be done by the so tenant system database here. right? That is the main thing here, right? HANA 2, HANA 1, single multi-containers here, right? HANA 2 is a multi-container. The separated metadata will be installed here. That is the main thing here, right? SystemDB, the tenant database is here. Okay, that is the difference, right? Here, one independent host, only one family stay, but there is advantages and disadvantages also. Here also there is advantage and disadvantage because all the database using the common. If the operating system is crashed, then all the 19 databases will go down, right? But here only one database will be impacted. Here impact is less. Here impact is maximum here, very high, right? That is the main thing here, right? That is the difference between the HANA 1.0, 2.0. The architecture wise, they have introduced the multi-container concept here. One system DB multi-tenants databases, they have introduced it here. So which will save the license cost, operating system cost, operating system money, amount, and everything. It will reduce it here. This licenses here. Okay, that is the main thing here. Okay, that is the software versions and software requirement here, right? So here HANA DB database softwares, we have to download it. Client, we have to download it. Add-ons and plugins also we have to download it. Studio. So coming to the monitoring tools to do the administration part of the HANA database, we have to use the HANA Studio or HANA Cockpit also we can use it. Either HANA Studio, either HANA Cockpit also we can use it here, right? That is the main thing. So any one of them admin monitoring tool you can use it here, right? So we can use the HANA Studio for performing the administration activities here, right? That is the one thing here. Now how to download the HANA softwares then service marketplace, same एक is tool. Why? Because this is a SAP product. SAP released the product here. Then SAP service marketplace, there we can see the SAP related all the information and everything here, right? We go to the service marketplace. Let me show you. So here the service marketplace, service.sap.com or me.sap.com. So we can open it here. So here normally you know how to download the software, right? Similar way we can also download the SAP HANA DB softwares as well here. So go to the service marketplace, me.sap.com and software download center here. Here you will see the list of softwares here, right? So softwares here. Go to the here by alphabetical order wise, by alphabetical index, right? So then just go for H for HANA, right? H for HANA software here, right? Here all the HANA related so softwares are available here. You can see here HANA platform edition. So it depends upon the license, either the platform edition or enterprise edition. You will get the platform edition here. So the only difference is the licensing softwares and everything here. If you go to the platform edition 2.0 here, you will see the all the softwares here, right? So HANA related add-ons, plugins, so additional functionalities, HANA Studio. So for the monitoring perspective, HANA AFL. So these are the HANA client is required, HANA cockpit, HANA database, HANA database. If you go to the HANA database, so it is only available in the Linux editions only here, right? So HANA, so HANA, see here, HANA revisions here, IMDB server means HANA database in memory, DB server here. So it's a 7020 means 2.0, right? So then 79 means 779 means SPS 07 patch level 9 here. 09 means revision 1979 here, right? That is the one here, right? So we have the 88 the SPS 08, SPS 05, SPS 07, and ISO all there here, right? Which means 08 is the latest version here. Here you can see the when it was the release date and everything here, right? So always when you going for the installation of the HANA database, we need to check the so release note here, which means HANA DB software. If you click on this button, hyperlink, automatically it will download the HANA DB server file will be downloaded here, right? So similarly, we can also download the HANA client also. You can download it here, latest version client, you can download it here, right? Then Studio, database, any add-ons, Studio, Web ID. If you want to download any other things, these all are available in the HANA platform edition. In the platform edition, you have the all the things are available here. So if you go to the release version of the HANA database here, right? So this is the latest version of HANA 2.0, SPS 08 is the latest version here, right? So then here you can see the what are the issues fixed here, and here you can see the what are the hardware recommendations for the HANA database here, what are the operating systems it will support it here, right? Then additional operating systems here, right? These things are very important. Coming to the hardware requirements which we are discussing here, HANA hardware requirement, we have to use the certified hardware vendors only. SAP recommending to use the certified hardware vendors, right? So here in the site you will see the what are the list of certified hardware vendors here, right? So we have to use the certified hardware vendors only, right? When you want to install the HANA database, you want to do the certified hardware vendors here. So, and also operating supported operating systems here, right? You can see the supported operating systems here. So Red Hat Linux and SUSE Linux here. In the Red Hat Linux, what is the latest versions which SAP supported here? And so ANA RHCL means Red Hat Linux. So for SAP solutions 9.4, which versions? ANA SPS 05, 07, 08. Then HANA 9.2, this is the versions which will support it here, right? Then if you go to the Linux, SUSE Linux version, SPS 06 is the latest version. It will support the 05, 07, 08. Then versions, you can see the versions clearly. SAP given the all the information to the customers here. What operating systems you have to use depends upon the HANA version. You have the clear information in the tab. So always when you are going for the HANA installations or upgrade, we need to read the this one here. Here you can see the supported hardware vendors here. So here cloud providers, so Azure, Google, GCP, and some other infrastructure provider, Lenovo, Hitachi. So these all are the so hardware vendors here. These all are the hardware vendors which we have to use it here, right? So CPUs, Intel based CPUs, we have to use it here. See, all are the Intel based CPUs here, right? Then memory. up to 32 terabyte we can use for HANA database. See, earlier we have only 16 terabyte. We have now 32 terabytes. We can use it here. Sir, who will provide the 32 terabyte of RAM slots? Yes, people will provide it here. Let's see, just if you filter it out here, then you will get the who will provide it. Azure, then Lenovo, Azure. So you can put this to Atos, Hitachi. There are the multiple providers. You can see they will offering the, so they are offering the 32 terabyte also they are offering here, right? So 32 terabyte, who will support it here? Let's see. Amazon, HP, Amazon, Atos, GCP. Only these are the infrastructure providers. They will provide the, so 32 terabyte of RAMs. They will provide it to the customers here, which means up to 32 terabyte your HANA will support it here. That is the main thing here. Operating systems, we have the clarity. Certified hardware vendors, we have to use it here, right? And also the Linux requirement, the GCC libraries, RPM packages, we have to, the latest version of the RPM packages, we have to install it here. The Red Hat Linux, Associate Linux, these are the library packages we have to install it here. Means we have to update it here. It will come as part of the operating system, but in case you need to cross check here, just you can cross check the details here, right? The operating system related details, you can cross check it out here. That is the main thing here, right? So each and every details you will find out in the HANA revision note, which version you are going to, you are installing. If you open that release note, you will see the all the information, and also you will find out the what issues are fixed in that versions. So I will get the, you will use the here. So HANA SAP always strongly recommending to use the most recent version of the SPs, right? That is the main thing here. Whatever is there in the latest, we have to use the latest version of the SPs here. That is the main thing of the HANA database here, right? This way we have to download the softwares and the hardwares, and we need to start the installations. Okay, that's the hardware and software requirement, and how to download the softwares and certify, how to check it out, the prerequisites and everything, right? Mainly OS versions, memory, and that thing is very, very important here. Okay, so that's it for today. And any questions, anyone? And tomorrow we'll start the installation. Yes, please.
Yeah, you made mention of the certified hardware. So are you saying that we can't actually install it on the cloud like AWS and spin up
Yes.
Sushi, and so we can't install it on AWS Linux operating system?
No, we can install any infrastructure provider, any cloud providers. Cloud providers means who? AWS, Azure, and GCP, and SAP. So, and Alibaba Cloud, IBM Cloud, any cloud means, so HANA deployment can be done in the on-prem. On-prem means our own data centers, and on cloud and hybrid scenario also we can do that one. So on cloud means all these cloud infrastructure, cloud providers will come. So any one of the cloud infrastructure provider, you can use it to install the HANA database. Any cloud provider, either on premises or cloud. So first of all, you need to have the hardware. Then on top of operating system, you will get it out. You will install it. Then on top of HANA database, we have to install it. So any provider, any infrastructure provider. So on-premises means these people will come like HP, Lenovo, Fujitsu. They are the hardware vendors, right? Hardware partners, right? So though their hardware also we can do the installations, HANA installations, certified hardware vendors. These all are the certified only. And so cloud providers also we can do the installations. Here you will get it out the information as I shown previously, the hardware vendors. So there we can get the information. Who are the hardware providers? Who are the hardware certified vendors? There also we can use it.
Sir, when you say hybrid, what does that mean, sir? Half and half?
Like, hybrid means some services are in the application, is in some services are in the on premises, some services are in the cloud.
Cloud, okay.
Suppose some customers, what they will do, database is in the on premises, application in the cloud. That is called the hybrid scenario, which means they are not fully on the on-premises, they are not fully on the cloud. So they are the third part. Maybe I can say like differently, the hybrid model. That people, that customers, we will call as the hybrid customer.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, sir. For the multi-container, is this the same thing as high availability with the
High
multi-container?
availability. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
with the
yes.
multi-container, is it the same thing?
Yes, yes, it's same. Okay. So thank you. So we'll talk tomorrow then. Okay.